but
Your schedule's pretty busy too.
well, and maybe we'll talk about that in this episode of Shiftless. Greetings and salutations to everyone that makes their wheels go round and round.
What's up out there, shiftless listeners?
We have a pretty decent morning.
Man, this is beautiful, and I'm so giddy that it's supposed to rain tonight. Makes me happy.
Rain is a good thing.
Yeah.
Rain is a very good thing. It was looking like it was going to be raining all day today to begin with, but that has shifted.
They're still saying we're supposed to get over an inch and a half.
Yeah, so the duration of the rain has compressed, but it looks like the intensity has increased, at least what's in the forecast.
Yeah.
It
makes me happy.
We need it. We definitely need it, and it looks like we'll be able to definitely get in Fort Worth gravel crits before the big stuff hits
tonight. Yeah.
Tonight, so we should be good to go there.
So you want to get into viewer mail? You send them to me, and I read them this time.
Okay.
I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to be a better co-host.
The co-host with the most, Mr. Brad Green, digging into viewer mail. Go for it.
None of these people left their address so I could send them a sticker, though.
I said that is the case. Oh, and I do have more stickers for you. I forgot to grab them on the way out the door.
That makes me super happy, too. I want to get them before I go to BT Epic.
When are you going to BT Epic?
Leaving next Thursday.
Okay. Don't let me forget when we meet up tomorrow or next week.
Going to one of your states, Missouri.
So
this one comes to us from Caitlin.
No last names.
No last names.
Let's not do last names.
Okay. Caitlin. What up, Caitlin? It says, "Hi. I started listening to your podcast earlier this year. I object to your claim that Houstoners tend not to be adventurous. I think that came from when we were talking about Houstoners traveling for events.
There's a couple things that she could very well be touching on. Mm-hmm. I never said Houstoners were never adventurous, and I'll take the heat on this if that's where she's going with it.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take the heat on it because I know quite a few Houstonians.
I didn't say Houston folks weren't adventurous. What I said was when we do events down that way, there isn't a preponderance of hardy riders like there is up this way. I'm not saying there aren't tough and hardy riders. That's not what I'm saying at all. It doesn't seem to be...
Quit crawfishing, Kevin. It's not becoming. You said what you said.
No, because we talked about it at the time, because we talked about our friend Shannon and his buddy, and it's like there's definitely folks...
Oh, there's some hardy people in Houston.
No doubt about it. But when at the event level,
the people that show up,
for events seem to be under the expectation of more hand holding. Generally speaking,
I hear roadie.
I did not say that. See, you're burning all the bridges. Roadies, e-bikers. Who else are you going to blast today?
I don't blast.
But anyway, please go on with.
Let me get back to Caitlin's
go back
email.
To Caitlin's. It's Caitlin, right?
Caitlin, and she says, I took a trip to the Lovett Trail this past weekend. Awesome. September 23rd through the 27th, and had a successful first bikepacking trip. You guys at Shiftless were a part of my success, so thanks. The Ride with GPS podcast was huge in convincing me to download it as my primary navigation for the trip. I biked the western one-third of the Lovett up to Hickory Nut Mountain. She said Hickory Mountain, but it's Hickory Nut Mountain, I believe, where I jumped into the gravel and small paved country roads towards Lake Ouachita State Park, and can confirm the Lovett is in amazing condition, better than I expected. So I suppose that picture that I showed you,
I
and
never saw the picture, but you told me about it.
well, I suppose that has been cleared, or that was a different part of the trail. So
It could be either or.
yeah,
So anybody that is a Lovett Trail expert on
mm-hmm.
conditions and how they change and what the maintenance schedules or who's in charge of it and how that works, shiftlesslive@gmail.com. Keep us in the loop. But definitely it's good feedback from Caitlin that
Yeah.
it's not a wasted trip to the Lovett right now.
She says also the Spinistry discussion about how to handle doggy friends on the East Texas Showdown group of events was very helpful for my mental prep for meeting lots of doggies on the country roads. All the best. Hope to meet y'all at a Spinistry event sometime soon, but not sure which it will be with my work schedule. And then she sends a picture of her bike. She is loaded up to the gills.
Yeah.
I love it.
That sounds like a great trip, Caitlin. Thank you very much for the feedback. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember.
I don't remember talking about dogs, how to handle dogs.
I think we touched on it some.
Huh.
I think very very casual offhand way, but I don't remember the specifics. I'm pretty sure we didn't have a specific episode around it. But I mean, you and I are both very much dog people.
I love me some dogs.
Yeah, so anyone listening that, hey, what's Kevin's tip on dogs? Just treat them all like your friend. And I mean, over the years, I've only had two, if-ish, I'd only label one of them a bad dog encounter. And one other that could have been iffy, could have gone either way. And I mean, I see a dog out there coming or that looks like they might be zeroing in on me. I just start talking to them and, oh, you want to play? What a good looking dog. And we're friends. And most of the time, if they were thinking about, and I honestly don't think most are being aggressive to begin with.
I think they're just excited.
They're excited. They'll do their territorial thing. Hey, this is my burg. But usually they just want to play anyway. And when you reinforce that typically takes care of about 93.7% of potentially negative dog encounters.
Seems accurate.
But you have to be comfortable around dogs to begin with. And I get it. I know there's people that aren't. And, I don't know what advice to give those people. But maybe we should talk to one of those people. And I know somebody that falls into that category.
I do too, Mister. I hit the turbo when I see a dog. We got 2 more pieces of mail in that you sent to me. I'm sure we got more, but
No, I send them all.
oh, do you?
I do send them all.
Well, I mean, we only have 19 listeners, so
I think we're back up to 20. But none of them are in Alaska or South Dakota or North Dakota yet. But Mississippi's going up the list.
that's awesome.
Mississippi, Mississippi.
You misspelled it, but it's okay. First time emailer. Oh, this comes to us from Sean. First time emailer, long time listener. Love the podcast and appreciate that you are 99% bike talk. I don't know how you manage to stay so topic focused all the time.
I get a hint of sarcasm in there.
Just a scotch. I just want to request an episode dedicated to the Rat 1000 since it is coming up very soon. I know Brad has wanted to do it for years, and I bet you could twist the arm of the current FKT holder to be on your podcast. I suppose he's talking about Dana, yeah?
That would have to be Dana Birch that he's talking
I
about.
thought we weren't doing last names.
Well, that's a known public record right there.
I'm just giving you shit.
I'm sure we'll talk about the Rat after it's kicking off this Saturday. So we'll talk about it after.
Yeah,
the
we
fact,
haven't mentioned anything about the Rat, and it's literally kicking off this Saturday.
Yeah, there's reasons.
Oh, okay.
There's reasons, and maybe we'll have a post Rat episode and we talk about
I'd love to.
some of that, and where we're going with it and things like
Why is
that.
Kevin being so secretive?
I'm not being secretive. It's an evolutionary process,
Okay.
and we'll see how things go this year to help us formulate what it looks like going forward. Just kind of
Brings us to our next email
okay.
from a guy named. Is it a guy named Shannon? Or should we assume it's a female?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good question because technically speaking, even though we're not using last names, there's a guy with this full Shannon and this last name, and there's also a female
Yeah.
that are
Both Spinistry members.
I believe so.
So this could come from either or.
This could.
Hello, Mr. or Mrs. Shannon. Saw on Facebook that someone is going to do a documentary on the rat this year? Question mark. Can you confirm or deny?
There is somebody that is planning to tag along and collect some documentary footage for a project that they're working on. I don't believe it's any high-end Hollywood production or anything like that. But in turn, I don't know what their intent is.
Who's going to play you in the Hollywood movie, Kevin?
Who? Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. That would be classic.
Would that work?
I don't know. I was trying to think of who would play you, but like if Philip Seymour Hoffman wasn't dead, I would go Philip Seymour Hoffman, but rest his soul.
Okay, I can kind of see that. Greenidge, man, Greenidge. Who would play you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have a role in this.
Dak Shepard.
That's not bad. I hadn't thought about that. I like that guy. Well, that concludes our mailbag. Our deep mailbag.
Well, okay. And yeah, definitely if you have thoughts, comments, concerns, shiftlesslive@gmail.com. That does remind me, lots of feedback over the past week from people that are listening and indirect feedback from people. Our friend Mr. Waldschmidt had some feedback from folks that he was riding around in another part of the state, and they're like, "Oh, I know you. I recognize your voice," and stuff like that. We had a hill country ride this past weekend, and I was quite surprised by the number of people that showed up for that ride that were listeners and into it. Out at Gravel Crits last week in Fort Worth, had a couple of Fort Worth PD bicycle patrol that came up to our staging area. It's like, what's this going to be? Because, we had permission to be there and everything like that, but I didn't have any paperwork on me. It's like, is this going to be a thing? And they were like, "Oh, sorry we didn't get here sooner. We were busy. Had a couple calls. We were going to try to get in some laps with you." It's like, "Oh, that's cool."
Oh, wow.
And they had brought their actual personal sleds for official duty.
Very cool.
And started talking about listening to the show and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to, and that's why I'm saying I don't buy the metric numbers that we get, and I don't lean on it by any stretch of the imagination. But it I have no idea how many people are actually listening to this thing and how many
you're saying
are.
There's possibly 21.
Maybe inching up to 30.
Oh.
We may. I mean, triple digits. I mean, that would be something.
There's no way.
Well, maybe 5-6 years of hard work, we might get there.
Yeah. What's going on in cycling news?
Well,
and I'm still curious why you're reluctant to talk about Rat,
I'm not reluctant to talk about it.
especially since it's so soon.
Well, I mean, there's no promoting it right now because this episode's going to be out after it, and we're not actually, registration's closed for it right now too. So
Yeah.
I would rather talk about
How
it
many
after.
registrants do you have?
We had 52 people signed up.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to have nearly that many people. I'm thinking we may have a dozen that are out there this year.
Yeah.
The temperature, the hot summer kicked a bunch of people's butts for their training plans.
That makes sense.
This year.
But what does the weather look like it's going to be?
Don't know. I haven't even looked.
Oh, really?
I've looked through Saturday, Sunday. That's about it.
Yeah.
I don't
Supposed
look.
to be high of 70 on Saturday here. 71 or something.
Yeah.
And low of 50.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Makes me so
Absolutely amazing.
Makes me so
The and I was about to go somewhere and you threw me for a loop.
Sorry, buddy.
Oh well, so I think it would be a more interesting discussion about the rat after it happens this year.
Okay.
Kind of a rat recap, see what we come across or see what riders run into, sort of thing, and talk about how it went this year and some of the ideas we have for next year. That's basically why it's like, I'm not talking big changes or anything like that. It's just part of the evolution. Everything evolves in Spinistry land, sort of thing. One thing I did want to touch on, because we talked about Jay Peterberry in a couple of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more detail has come out. Nothing surprising, nothing unexpected, but it was just like I was talking about. The road was, I knew the road, and it sounds like where the tracking stopped, which I knew exactly where that was. It was just like there was unimpeded views for miles, literally.
Mm-hmm.
He did nothing wrong. We didn't think that he had, but it was like, did he have earbuds in or something? Nope.
Right.
He's very anti-earbud.
Yeah.
He's just like us. He was talking about his ears when he's out there is, like one of the biggest safety factors.
Yeah.
And it was a kid that Jay doesn't know what happened. He got literally run over from behind, and the kid was ticketed, and there was a citation involved, and so it wasn't a hit and run or anything like that.
Yeah, I told you I'd heard that the driver stayed on scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just clarifying it for anybody that might be wondering now that maybe didn't hear that last episode. And the nuts and bolts of it are he's in the recovery process now.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what that exactly looks like.
Seems to be in good spirits, though.
Yeah, I mean, as good as you can be.
Yeah.
He's definitely dealing with the unknown of recovery.
Yeah.
And I've got some familiarity with that along those lines. So definitely wish him my best. And I think it's fair to say our best. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be an ongoing process. There's no.
I mean, the guy was in great shape. I'm sure he'll recover pretty well. I don't know what the extent of his injuries were. Besides, he broke his pelvis, didn't he?
Broke a humerus. Broke his wrist.
Scapula or something.
And I think broke one of his a vertebra somehow or another, but no spinal injury or no paralysis or anything like that. But it's one of those things that, and again, I'm familiar with it. When you get rolled by a car, there's a lot of soft tissue stuff that's involved. There's just no way to know what's messed up at the cartilage and the ligaments and tendons and things like that.
Yeah.
And until the bones themselves are completely healed, you can't start doing the things to go, oh, there's something wrong in this elbow here or whatever.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So it's going to be a process. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, it was obvious he's caught up in the unknown aspect of it, because there is no black and white to it of, well, in 6 weeks I'll be able to do this. And, the traditional, well, they say it's going to take me 12 weeks to heal. I'm a tough son of a bitch. I'm going to get it done in 8.
Yeah.
He is leaving it more open-ended than that, it seems, at the moment. But those basic questions, yes, the person was held accountable to some extent.
Yeah.
At this point, who knows what that will turn into. He's got a lot of bills that he doesn't know how he's going to pay and all that. I don't know. We definitely want to do that show with our insurance specialist to talk about some of that sort of thing. And it's going to vary from state to state
Yeah.
as well. That's one of the big nothing, particularly on insurance, there's nothing that's universal in the United States alone, let alone if you start looking in other countries as well. But it's a big difference just going over a state line. So what may be true in Texas is going to be completely untrue in Colorado, for example. So that was just something I wanted to come back to a touch.
We still wish him the fastest, best recovery.
Possible, best recovery possible. And whatever can be. What keeps beeping?
That's my stupid mail on my phone.
Gotcha. You're so popular.
No, spam mail. I was looking at Crank Brothers has some new street shoes for flat pedals, but I was looking at them because they're teal.
I bet they got great warranty on them. Are you a teal guy?
I love me some teal.
How did I not know that? What do you have that's teal? I've never seen anything.
You did know that.
I've never seen that belt before in my life. I don't look at your crotch area.
Oh, you lie. You lie and you know it. I was actually looking at this. Vittoria has a 50-gram airliner now, which seems like impossibly light. 50 grams is like a fifth of a pound. No.
It's like 50 grams.
Yeah.
It's not even 52 grams.
It's an eighth of a pound.
Okay.
Is that right?
I don't know.
50 grams, yeah. Because it's 454 grams in a pound.
Okay.
So it's a ninth of a pound. That's right. That seems incredibly light to do any real good. But I'm sure if Vittoria's making it, they figured it out. That's pretty badass because traditionally, like downhill and all the other run flat stuff for liners are like 250 grams.
So
like Huck Norris and all those other liners. What?
So it's like a Cush core, or it's just a liner?
Well, they're calling it a liner, airliner light. But basically, yeah, it says so far one of the most popular options marketed specifically at cross-country riders is the Cush Core XC, which weighs in at 150 grams per insert.
Okay,
so I was a little high. And then, but at 50 grams, like literally
it's
a third of the weight.
It's a third of the weight.
But 50 grams is literally nothing. Like, I mean, that could be the difference in, one tire and another tire from the same...
Right.
Same cut.
It can be the same tire, just the variation.
Yeah.
No, I get that aspect of it.
Oh, it's an open cell because it says that the foam is in the insert is permeable to air. So as the tire is inflated, the insert gradually soaks up the extra air like a sponge. That doesn't make sense to me, but
no,
they're
makes
probably smarter than me.
It makes sense to me.
That's cool. That's cool that somebody's out there doing that. Because 50 grams, I mean, I would have never ran inserts before just because of the weight penalty. But I'm also not doing a lot of downhill. They've always been a lot more beneficial for like enduro people, downhill guys and stuff like that. But at 50 grams a tire, that's nothing. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, obviously most of the stuff we do is gravel. So the vast majority of my experience around the inserts has been gravel riders, and I have a collection of inserts in the Spinistry trailer that have been slung to the side of the road.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's not working out really well in that environment.
I don't think
yet.
I don't think any liner that I'm aware of is intended to help with punctures. It's more of a compression or like a snake bite.
It's pinch flat stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, on gravel, I don't know if that would make any sense anyways. I think the only way to prevent a flat on gravel is having proper air pressure for your weight and the tire and the conditions.
Well, that's you're back to pinch flat. Most of the gravel flats over the years have been the traditional pinch flat.
Yeah.
It's rolling down an incline and hitting the flat at the bottom and compressing that rear tire on
Yeah.
a chunk rock.
Yeah.
That's what it's almost every time. But it's not a ledge strike. It's not
Yeah.
a big full boulder hit
Yeah.
or anything like that. So I think that there is somewhat of a difference there where it's basically the same compression puncture like a pinch flat, but it's probably more tightly distributed as opposed to all the way across the width of the tire.
Why wouldn't they just pick better lines?
Because they're going faster
Uh,
and it's a smaller rock.
mm.
And
I'd say pick better lines.
yeah, I'm sure you would. So now you're bashing gravel riders.
No.
Too. You're bashing gravel riders, e-bikers.
Look, man, if you're not on a single speed hardtail that's like pastel colored with carbon hoops, you're nobody. No, I've said it many a times. If you're on a bike, I love you. I don't care what kind of bike it is, even if it is a road bike or an e-bike.
Any other cool products out there we need to?
Man, there's I feel like everybody's kind of slowing down on their releases right now.
Yeah, we're going into the off season.
Yeah.
We're rolling into the off season.
I was just perusing Pink Bike because they're normally dropping a lot of new stuff, and then I was just looking at the reviews. Where do you go for cycling news? I was going to ask you that. I get a lot of it just through social media and stuff because I'm friends with so many cyclists across the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at the point where all the algorithms on everything know to feed me that stuff.
Right.
Everything from YouTube to the Gram to Facebook to.
Yeah.
I tried playing on Threads.
I don't know anything about that.
It's the meta version of Twitter.
Yeah.
I've never been a Twitter fan. It's never worked for me.
I don't get the format. It's too smart guy for me.
Basically, I'm too dumb to tweet is what
Yeah.
it boils down
I
to.
used to always tell Cope, I can't twit you.
But I mean that said, there is. Well, I mean, along those lines, it's since I'm in that algorithm, like I guess there's another bike shop that's going out of business now. This one's down towards Austin. It's Cycles East, which is they've always had a big social media presence, online influencer presence, and they're kind of bike packing and adventure cycling oriented and things like that, or at least they cater to that crowd very specifically. I'm sure they do everything else as well, and I've always heard good things about them, but evidently they're shutting down after many years as one of the kind of premier shops down that way. And it's stuff like that bothers me, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I mean, I get it.
Bike shops are like restaurants, though. They come and they go,
Are
And
there?
there's the ones that have been here for 20 years are the, I mean, Velo Republic just celebrated their 10-year anniversary. They're going to have their 10-year anniversary while we're in Big Bend. I'm kind of sad I'm going to miss it. But
They could come down to Big Bend and have the
Yeah.
anniversary with us.
the bike industry is a very, very tough industry, and COVID was one of many difficulties they've been forced to deal with. I mean, not that was specific to the bike industry, but it did affect the bike industry overall, and just like it did the restaurant industry. I mean,
Pull that a little closer to you.
the restaurant industry had to adapt and overcome, much like the cycling industry has. I mean, a lot of
No, I get it. There's no doubt that the virus stuff threw a wrench in just about every business type imaginable.
But even without that, the cycling industry
it,
struggles
it,
from.
it's always been a tough gig. Retail, local bike shop aspect of things. It's obviously not getting any easier. And I get it. Just the shops themselves have to adapt and evolve with the times. So I'm not blaming the customers. I'm not blaming the industry per se.
And this constant change of standards in air quotes again is a detriment to.
I agree, and I mean I think that's as much the issue as anything, to be honest with you, because it's
A standard we didn't even talk about the other day that we were talking about last night at TNSS, handlebars. Because now they're up to, I think mountain bike handlebars are going to 35.4.
It's up over 35 now, right?
And it was 25.4 forever or something like that. I'm probably getting the numbers wrong. And then it went 31.8.
31.8.
And now it's like, it seems like because it was a good idea on downhill bikes, let's just do it on the rest of the bikes. So it's 35.4, I think, is the new clamp diameter. So that means new bars, new stem,
I think the vast majority of that stuff is, not planned obsolescence. It's unplanned. It's forced obsolescence. Is a lot of it is what the bike industry is kind of fallen into the trap of. It's like, we don't want you to have a bike that's going to last 20 years that you can just upgrade the parts, sort of thing. It's you have to get a new bike every 3 or 4 years to be able to partake in the new parts is what they're getting at.
Do you think that's the plan, or do you think that it is a constant evolution? Because I see the handlebar argument just from a safety standard, a more rigid interface, and it seems to be obviously a lot more durable.
Was there a problem with 31.8s?
Not in my book, but I don't know.
I don't know anyone that's broken a handlebar that was properly torqued, unless it was just some sort of catastrophic wreck, sort of thing.
Or a roof rack.
That would fall under the category of catastrophic.
No, as far as I know, 31.8 wasn't like a huge failure point.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Is that addressing an issue that's not there? If it's an issue, then sure, it makes all the sense in the world. I'm not dialed into the entire cycling industry by any stretch of the imagination.
Same.
But I probably see more of that than most.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not aware of 31.8s being an issue anywhere, even in the most extreme downhill type situations. Sure, if you clip an aspen at 40 miles an hour, you could break a 31.8. You could probably break a 35.4 too.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just it's one of those things, like the standards continue to shift, and tire size, hub width, bottom bracket styles, headset size. Now we have handlebar size. Not that that's really new, but it's just crazy. And it, like we touched on before, it's hard for people to keep up. But it's also, think about all the parts that, as a bike shop, you either have to have access to or you have to stock, I mean...
No, exactly.
And then that's not even talking about colors,
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, back in the traditional, back when Brad was a shop rat, I mean, yeah, you had your high-end Zoot titanium spring bins. There's no doubt about that. But you could have your drawers of bits.
Yeah.
that whole investment was maybe $200 worth of bits, and they were all interchangeable with every bike that was. So any bike that came in the door, I need a crank bolt. Oh, here's the crank bolts, or whatever. I need a skewer. Here's a skewer. It just, everything was completely interchangeable. So you could work on every bike and have everything right there, where you could turn stuff around. Now it's your only choice. Oh, I'm not a Giant dealer, but you're bringing in a Giant bike for me to work on. And so I'm not going to have all of these bits. So I have to order them in. And I'm not a Giant dealer. So Giant's going to charge me basically retail price to bring in this part. And to sell, to fix your bike, then I have to put my margin on top of that. And, in the meantime, Mr. Customer, you can get it on Amazon at a 10% discount to my price.
Yeah.
And have it tomorrow.
It's tough for the bike shops, especially the small time true local bike shops, to even compete with a lot of that. And now, on top of that, you have all these bike manufacturers that are going direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Is Canyon's one of them? And
Canyon, Loft.
Intense.
Is Intense direct now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically Revel is, but they do a dealer network too.
Yeah.
I think there is some sort of hybrid, kind of along the lines of Revel. I don't want to throw them, because I don't know anything about their business model and how it works with the dealers versus direct. But for the majority of bicycle riders, the local shop is a valuable asset.
I think they're critical.
Yes.
We can't have a cycling community environment without local bike shops. I mean, the bike shop is always going to continue to change, and that whole format's going to change. But bike shops are, I don't see a world where they go away. I don't want to.
Well, I see a world. No, they're on the verge of going. We're almost there, Brad. That's what I'm getting at. There's very few. I mean, again, the Cycles East going away is an example of that. We're just in this area. I'm not gonna name specific shops. Sure, Velo's one.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying every bicycle shop that's left is on the verge of going out of business. I honestly don't know.
Let's just start here. Nobody's getting rich running a bike shop.
Nobody.
And if they are, they're money laundering or something. They're not legitimately getting rich owning a bike shop.
I would agree with that completely. We've touched on it multiple times. You don't do anything from a business perspective in the bicycle industry with the expectation of getting rich. You only go this route based on the passion for the sport, is what it boils down to. And there's a lot of niches that are like that. So I'm not saying that's exclusive to cycling at all by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, that resonates with so many different industries.
Yes. It does pain me, though, whenever I see those social media comments where people are just they're not even going to consider utilizing a local shop because they can get their mail order bike for $200 less than what a local shop would charge for a comparable product.
And those are the people that go in and get mad because they can't get a full tune-up in an hour.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for developing that relationship with your local bike shop, even if it is just from a service standpoint, but there's also just that community feeling. I mean, there's something awesome about going into your bike shop.
Okay. And that ultimately, that's what the downside has been, in my experience, of the evolution of the bike shop environment. And I'm going to lean on it. The lack of standardization is an integral part of this, where the communities, they're still cycling communities, but they're so scattered now. And so this group of people that just ride this bike, so that's Facebook lets you do a group for, 2009 to 2010 Soul Cycles
Yeah.
riders in North Texas. And if that's your only group of people that you get feedback from, if that's your echo chamber for your cycling experience, you have a community, but it's outside what the full cycling community is. Not that everybody needs to be in everyone's business, but I think we're, along with a lot of other things, we've kind of gotten in this echo chamber mode where we get into these little niches, and that's all the feedback we get, sort of thing. So that becomes the norm, and a lot of that norm is going away from supporting the local bike shops, and that I don't think that's a good thing.
Kids, support your local bike shop.
Please do. Go
in there and buy a water bottle. Make it a point to buy something every time you walk into the shop. Even if it's, do you need a CO2? Do you need a tube? Or buy a tool from them.
And I don't want this to sound like I'm bashing the direct bike sellers, because I get that too. It's tough for them as well. Trust me, I'm a huge fan of Loft bikes.
Yeah.
I think they have cool stuff. I was a huge supporter of them when they were going through the local shops, but now they go direct, and I don't want it to sound like I'm not knocking them. They got to do what they got to do to stay in business. Same with Canyon, same with whoever else is out there.
But it's not helping local bike shops.
I want to believe there's got to be some sort of middle ground there where
there needs to be,
where they can all help each other out, because it's a very specialized industry. I don't
think you can say that.
Oh, damn! I just hit the trademark, didn't I?
Yeah, they're gonna ding us. We're gonna get.
We're
gonna get demonetized.
It won't be my first. Oh, we're beyond demonetized. It won't be my first cease and desist. I can tell you that right now. All right, that's getting on the negative side of things. Let's talk about.
There's a different tubeless valve that I've never seen before. Have you seen these guys? Fun, FUNN.
Nope.
It says it allows. Look at that. The bottom part, the part that's actually in the rim.
Yeah.
It says it allows for 3 times greater airflow, which I've never felt was a real issue. Fully rebuildable, air release without removing the cap. How did that? That doesn't compute. Compatible with tire inserts, CO2 inflators, and sealant injectors.
What's the price point?
$35.
Well, that's better than your $50 ones.
And it says, get this, it says they're easy to install.
As long as you take the tire off the rim.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've never met.
Has there ever been a valve stem that wasn't easy to install?
I'm sure. Evidently, it's a known problem.
It's a pain point.
Yeah,
it's a pain point. I was watching this YouTube video last night. We're going to go slightly off the cycling topic, but it is loosely related.
Okay.
So I'm getting a procedure done on my knees to hopefully make it so when I leave, I can step over the hose going forward. We'll see.
Yeah.
So I had my first, had my first injection yesterday for that, and it'll be a weekly thing for a while. And I was doing some research on YouTube, just I know what my doctor says. I knew what some preliminary research, but it was after I got it done the first time. Well, I got more questions, and so I started digging around, and basically all the doctors that are into this type of treatment are, saying basically the same thing my doctor is. And then I found one negative about the procedure. And I was watching this guy's discussion on it, but all he's talking about, he's so obviously catering to people that are scared of needles. It's really the only negative he could come up with. He's like, well, but for some people, that big old needle going right into their knee joint, that can be painful. or it's like a needle going into your flesh.
Yeah.
It's like a big old needle, and that's all. It's like,
in the brochure. It's literally in the brochure. We're going to do an injection.
Exactly. So it was obvious he was grasping at straws to try to find some sort of objection that's out there. That, what am I looking at there?
Boone Technologies cranks. Those are just sexy. Look at that.
That's sexy as hell. And what's the price point?
Oh, who knows?
All right, so let's go. So last week's episode, you kept harping on the
1100.
Yeah. You kept harping on the, you know me so much better now after we dug into some of this stuff. I'm a firm believer there's two basic camps.
Mm-hmm.
There's a form over function end of the spectrum, and there's a function over form end of the spectrum. Now, there is definitely bleed.
I was going to say it's not that black and white, but
there's definitely bleed over, but people lean towards one end or the other, much like politics. I am definitely a function over form type guy, but I can appreciate a good form. And every once in a while, and I'll use my wife as an example, I get lucky and max out both. But
what a simp.
You betcha.
Yeah.
But I am always going to focus on the function first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have something that's pretty that doesn't work, it's not worth the shit. If you have something that works and is ugly as hell, it still works.
Still works.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get it but if you can get something that's pretty and works, it's fun.
I don't dispute that at all.
Yeah.
But typically when you start getting into that realm, then the third leg of the stool is budget.
Yeah.
And my cheap bastardness at heart, that one's almost always a deal breaker. Almost always. There are exceptions.
Back in my wrenching days, we used to always say, if it's ugly as hell, it must be expensive. Because when cycling stuff would come out, the top end, high end stuff, it was never like super sexy. Like when the E-Wings came out, or they were called Sweet Wings back then.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So
the Thai bling cranks that Cane Creek has now.
Okay.
They're called EE Wings. But when they first came out, we were like, well, those are ugly as hell. They must be expensive. And they were. And they still are. So, did you want any coffee?
I do not. Thank you, though.
What's that like, not to drink coffee?
I already had my coffee today.
Oh, okay.
I've cut down on my coffee. Instead of drinking 2 pots a day, now I drink 1.
Yeah, I only drink 1 pot, too.
So...
Or less than that when you show up and drink half of my pot. Because I don't make more coffee when you leave.
Well, damn. Now I'm glad I'm not drinking your coffee.
No.
It's all you.
I wouldn't share it with you if I didn't want to share it with you. I'd make you your own pot.
I'm sure you saw this news this week. Maybe not, but I think it's a fair assumption. Surly cross-check, no more.
Yeah, what's up? It's very interesting. I didn't read the article. It was sent in my group, and I hadn't had a chance to read it.
Your echo chamber?
Well, I have a group text with 14 other guys.
I'm playing with
It's all the Wood Ape Ramble crew, really. But it was sent in the group chat yesterday, and I just, saw the little thumbnail and read the headline, and I was like, well, that's a super bummer. Are you being attacked by spiders or what? What's going on?
Flies.
Flies?
Flies. I guess the sunshine's making me start to sweat, and it's attracting the flies.
You should shower more often.
I thought I did.
More patchouli, bro. More patchouli.
Anyway, your echo chamber Wood Ape Bramble group.
Yeah, so I didn't read the article, but I mean I don't see where the article is going to say a lot that I don't understand. That sucks. But what struck me was all cities going away, and now the cross checks going away. Is QBP seeing a trend that we're not aware of? I don't see where like that type of bike is, because the cross-check was in line with a lot of the all-city kind of stuff. You know, it's a steel frame, pretty simple bike with fender mounts and, you know, all that stuff.
No, the entire bike industry is seeing the trend that sales have dropped 50% this year.
Well, yeah, because they have such a backstock. You know, I have a buddy that worked for Hans Johnson, and right when COVID hit, we sat down and talked for, God, at least an hour and a half, just about what we saw happening in the bike industry. And not to say that I'm a genius or have a crystal ball or anything, but we are right where I said we were going to be 3 years ago. I was like, as soon as everything recovers and everything gets back on track, there's going to be a huge backlog of parts because everybody's going to be signing up. Everybody's going to double their workload. They're going to have all these orders in, and then the demand's just going to fall off because the market's going to be satiated. And now we're sitting on this mountain of parts that aren't going anywhere. And so everybody's going to back off production. In 3 or 4 more years, there's going to be a vacuum where you're not going to be able to get anything because everybody's going to slow down production. Companies are going to go out of business. And it's just going to be this huge, just peaks and valleys, you know?
Well, yeah, I think I'm on the same page. I mean,
Yeah.
It was obvious that the COVID growth in the outdoors industry in general, you know, let alone just bicycle, was not a realistic expectation for future trends.
Yeah.
Anybody that would look at that objectively would go, well, this is outside the norm.
Yeah. Unsustainable.
But that's not the way publicly traded companies work anymore. It's quarter over quarter.
Yeah.
So they don't look. It doesn't do any of these C-level executives any good to project 5 years down the road, 3 years down the road. It's like, I have to make my numbers improve next quarter. So that they don't look any further ahead.
But that's not fair when you're making projections and adjusting budgets going forward based on an absolutely phenomenal year that was due to
it may not be fair, but that's the way it works now. I'm not saying it's right.
But it's not a realistic way to do projections, you know?
But it's the way it works now. It is the way it's done now. That's all I'm saying. So
yeah, but I mean, if you ran a mom and pop, I'm going to take this to the restaurant industry for just a second, just to make an analogy. If you ran a mom and pop, like think of what's that shop, the restaurant in Watauga, the chef place. It was a nobody little.
The diner place?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
That was in the gas station.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It sucks, but I know what you're talking about.
But they were just doing their business, and then all of a sudden they were on diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Right.
Their spot got blowed up, right? So for a month or 2 months or 3 months, they saw bigger sales, longer waits than they had ever seen before. It's foolish to think that that's going to continue at that escalation. You're going to peak off. You're going to valley out.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm just saying from a like intelligence, standpoint, you've got to be aware of what's going on instead of just going, well, we grew 20%. What's to say we can't grow another 20% next year?
The shareholders don't care. That's what it boils down to. So it's all about the stock price on a publicly traded company. So if you're a CEO and you go, well, there's going to be a downturn in the industry here, so our quarter over quarter growth won't be sustainable to those levels for the next 2 years, and that's a realistic projection, then your stock price goes down, your shareholders are unhappy, and even though you're completely right in making the right business decisions as a CEO, you're out of your job because all that matters to the shareholders is the stock price. It doesn't matter the fundamentals of the business and how it actually works.
Instead of asking you, I was going to type in, is QBP publicly traded? And I typed in, is QBP? And guess what auto-populated? The only thing that auto-populated is QBP going out of business.
Okay. They very well could be, and I'm not throwing that out there as insider knowledge or that's my expect. I'm
No.
saying it's
No, I'm not either. I just think it's interesting.
it's something that could be going on
Yeah.
because they don't. I don't believe they're publicly traded. I could be
No.
mistaken. And since they don't have the shareholder buy-in,
Yeah.
so to speak, and they don't have the stock valuation as a backup to credit lines and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they don't have the cash to carry on in the traditional manner that they've done before. I don't know. I'm not speculating either way on that.
And that doesn't mean that they're going out of business. I just thought it was interesting.
No, I get it.
That's the only thing that auto-populated.
But as far as the cross-check being discontinued and all city stuff being discontinued, the going back to the glut of inventory that you were touching on before, realistically, probably what happened sometime in the past 12 to 18 months, it was like they saw that the warehouses were stacking up with stuff. Probably steel stuff was due for another reorder. And but they saw that their carbon and aluminum stuff and titanium stuff was building up, and it came time to order another boatload or two of steel frames. And they said, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Because we've got this glut of other stuff that's now 5 years worth of inventory at current numbers.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any sense for us to buy 2 boatloads of steel frames from our steel manufacturer
That
right
makes
now.
sense.
So my guess is something like that is what is kind of what happened. So the cross check is still, I mean, realistically, it was a 25-year-old roughly design. I think they updated it for disc brakes, but
Cross-check?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically the same bike it's been for over 20 years.
Yeah.
The all city stuff, that's kind of like their Foundry Cycles stuff. I believe it was meant to be a sub brand, and it probably was eating away at some of their other primary brand stuff. And it's like, we got to sell Salsa and Surly stuff, so this one just has to go away.
I just found it a little strange that as soon as they get rid of All City, they were all steel frame bikes that were very similar to what the Crosscheck is in personality. Then they come on the tails and eliminate a Surly product that is similar. So
Yeah, I don't.
maybe it's coincidence.
I don't know that the cross-check was that similar because, again, it was more old school
Yeah.
approach.
I mean, it's
to
definitely
stuff.
not as popular as it was.
But I mean, Surly has their I'm forgetting what's their current main midnight special. And
They have a lot of niche bikes as well. Like, what's their grappler or the grave?
they've got the Straggler.
They got a bunch of bikes.
So that I think more than likely it's.
Do you really need to know more than the Karate Monkey?
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not a drop bar gravel rig.
That's true. It's not.
So that's what I'm looking at. So the all city stuff and the cross-check is more on the gravel side of things, generally speaking.
They have the Midnight Special, the Preamble, the Steamroller, and the Straggler. Those are all pavement.
What's the preamble? I'm not even familiar with that one.
I don't know. It's a pavement bike.
Okay.
I read that as a road.
But the Midnight Special isn't road, and the Straggler isn't road. Those are both adventure bikes.
It says pavement.
I understand, but my point is, it's a gravel bike, but because we have a Straggler.
Okay.
I looked at the Midnight Rambler.
So the Preamble is basically a flat bar.
Gravel.
I'd call it a what do they call those? A hybrid.
And nothing. Hybrid doesn't exist anymore, but they're called adventure bikes now.
Okay, that's fair.
But I mean, that's kind of what gravel bikes took over that high. What were hybrids, gravel bikes kind of do the same functionality where you can take it anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's why for the past 5 years, all the new people coming into cycling were getting gravel bikes. They weren't, nobody was selling hybrids anymore. You could get a low-end gravel bike sort of thing. That's oversimplification, but that's basically how it worked. So you had a lot of people that were getting a low-end gravel bike, and their bike shop says, well, you've got a gravel bike now. You need to go ride some gravel rides. There's all these cool events out there. And that's where we touched on it in the past, where you have a lot of new cyclists that were coming in that didn't have the experience or the fitness or the skill set to go out and do 100 miles of gravel or do unbound gravel, but that's what they saw on the internet after they got their $900 gravel bike. That's what people do with gravel bikes.
Well, it looks like you can get this with a drop bar bike too. They're calling it a commuter and gravel bike.
Okay.
So it is a hybrid. I mean, you can get it with a flat bar or a drop bar, and it does pavement and gravel. But let's be fair, you can ride anything on the pavement you want to.
Pretty much.
I mean, if you're so inclined, you can ride your big hit.
I mean,
mountain bike.
the big difference is the hybrid bikes of old, they were 50-pound bikes generally
That's
speaking.
true.
They had their adjustable stems, which were always a terrible idea. But I get it. A new cyclist, it's like, this doesn't feel right. Oh, here, let's just loosen that and roll it up. It feels better, right? They had their crappy forks on them, but I like the idea of a cushy front end. So all of, the gravel setup kind of sort of adjusted that to some extent. You're working with a higher volume tire, so that kind of does the same thing as suspension. You can get a flat bar version or a drop bar version sort of thing, and
Salsa did that for a little bit with their Journeyman as well.
Yeah,
Which was their entry level, versatile.
They're hybrid. And that's what I'm saying. All the manufacturers have that.
Yeah, they just don't refer
1,000
to
to
it as a hybrid
2,000.
anymore.
No, they're adventure bikes.
Still a hybrid.
It's the same general concept. It's the do anything bike the do anything entry level bike.
Yeah. Wow. The Crosscheck's not even on their site anymore. That was
Right.
quick.
Well, I think they probably did it with the Crosscheck first, where it's like, we're not ordering that, and that was probably something that went through the QBP system.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, if we're not ordering Crosschecks, what about this all city batch of stuff? Nope, not ordering any more. I think I heard they do have one more shipment of the all city stuff on the way, sort of thing. That was already in the pipeline.
Well, they said it wasn't gonna officially die until 2024.
Right,
But we're quickly closing on 2024.
Well, later in basically they got another boat on the way, sort of thing. And when they sell out of that, they're done with all
slow
of those.
boat from China,
Or wherever.
from Taiwan.
Wherever. I don't know where they make
I'm
their
drawing
steel
a blank.
stuff.
What was their fat bike that they were known for forever?
All City?
No.
Surly?
Surly.
Oh man.
I'm drawing an absolute blank. It's not on their website. Because now they still have the ice cream truck and the Wednesday.
Right. Good
Son
grief.
of a gun. I can't believe
Pugsley.
Pugsley. Dadgum.
The Pugsley.
And the Moonlander. Yeah, Pugsley.
Yeah, I wanted a pug back in the day. I'm glad I didn't go that route.
Your buddy Frazier has plenty of them that are your size.
Okay. I doubt they're my size.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I think he rides a medium.
Pretty sure it would be a small. Could be wrong.
I think he rides a medium. What is that? Is it chow time? Is it chow time? What happened?
Hold on. Hey, you're interrupting a shiftless episode.
The old man's experiencing technical difficulties.
Oh, no. Well, y'all are doing a great job.
You're on speakerphone. Do I need to plug you into the Bluetooth and start interviewing you real quick?
No. Give me a call back later.
Love you, Sean.
All right. Talk to you later.
Yeah, about 30 minutes. Will that work?
Yeah, there's no rush.
Okay, later.
Bye.
Love that guy. That's good to know what his ringtone is. That cracks me up.
Does that surprise you?
No. More cowbell.
Hell yeah.
So is it that particular genre of bikes is going to be the first to die off in the industry?
Fat bikes?
No.
Steel bikes?
Steel bikes. Steel versatility, or I see, like, when I watch, so this is what's hard to kind of put together, because I watch, is it Pathless Pedaled, I think? He does goes to a lot of boutique shows. He's a real,
I'm familiar with them.
yeah, he's a kind of a eccentric biker, if you will. He's a retro grouch of sorts. He likes simple.
He's trying to be the 21st century Sheldon Brown.
Yeah, he is, much to your point earlier, function over fashion in the cycling industry. He wants something that is cheap, durable, and functional. He gets excited about their. I saw a deal recently where they released updated friction shifters, and he was giddy over it. So
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in our philosophies, but he goes way beyond
yeah.
me. But I don't discount any of his stuff.
No. But what I'm saying is, when I watch his videos, he goes to a lot of boutique shows, and there's a lot of people out there making, like, custom bike builders that are making all city type bikes,
Sure.
that are steel bikes with all the mounts, fender mounts, and, can do just about everything, and they're speccing them the way they want, they're staying with the industry standard that they embrace, instead of being forced into this new deal. And I think that's part of, the whole bike industry is this machine that kind of runs itself, because what happens is every time a new standard comes on, the big bike brands just embrace it, and they start building their new bikes with this new bottom bracket standard.
Okay, think about it though. Mm-hmm. If the new bike you're building is just a carbon layup that's all computer designed, and with your what's essentially a 3D printer anymore, can be laid up to almost any spec. Are we there yet? Not quite, but getting pretty close to it.
We just need a little bit more alien technology.
You can adapt a carbon layup on the fly, basically speaking.
I don't think you know how carbon works.
We're pretty close to that.
No, you have to make a form, a mold. You have to design it in CAD. You have to.
I understand. That's my point. All of those steps that used to take 3, 4, 5 years to put all those steps together can now be knocked out in 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but you say on the fly. I'm thinking like, the guy standing there on the line making the frame, and he goes, "Okay, this next one's going to have."
I'm talking about turnaround time.
Yeah. Okay.
To retool. You can retool a carbon layup a lot easier than you can retool basically.
I can agree with that.
Steel jigs and frames and everything else traditionally built. That's what they're up against. We're back to the non-standardization isn't working for steel frames.
Right.
Because what made a steel frame affordable is that you could build a cross-check for 20 years and not have to retool.
Yeah.
So you're losing money the first 2 or 3 years you're putting it out there.
Sure.
You're break even at year 5. Year 6, you're making money on that frame.
Yeah.
It's all gravy from year 6 on.
But they redesigned the cross-check a couple of times.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
They added disc tabs.
No, they did more than that. You're oversimplifying, but I see what you're saying.
So the traditional model for steel frames was break even in 5 years and then it's gravy.
Yeah.
Carbon bikes aren't that way. You got to be making money year 1, year 2 at the latest.
Well, that's why they're so expensive too. but they're coming down.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, carbon's the new aluminum for all intents and purposes. And the steel frames are going to be relegated to the boutique brands is what's basically going to happen, because no new bike riders come in with an appreciation for steel. So it's only the retro gratches that are looking for steel.
I don't know about that. I think a lot of, well,
If you're a newer rider and you're into steel, steel is real.
still,
Send us a message, shiftlesslive@gmail.com, and tell me I'm wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I love me some steel. I don't know, man. It's just, there's so many moving parts in the cycling industry. I guess getting back to where we were, I just don't want to see a day where local bike shops are just done, you know. This is akin to, you know, you walking out to go eat and everything's a chain restaurant, you know.
We're getting close to both.
I don't like that. I
Well,
don't like it.
I don't either, but that's...
I'm going to support a local bike shop over a big bike shop.
I mean, big bike shops relative at this point too. I mean, I lump the big bike shops these days into the local bike shops, as opposed to, I still think that's, when I say a big bike shop, let's just say national brand, store banner. I'm not going to name any brands because I don't want it to sound like I'm talking about anybody specifically.
You mean Performance? Or Nash Bar? No?
Bike brand.
Oh, bike brand. Oh, okay. Like an S or a T?
Or a G
Or a G, yeah.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I'm not, I don't want this to sound like I'm talking down about anything. When I say, if there's a local mechanic that's building your bike, that's an upgrade over a mail order bike.
Yeah.
And I don't care whose name is on the sign or what bike brands are supported by that shop, because that can change week to week as well for different reasons. So when I talk local bike shop, I'm even talking those big national brand bike local stores.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's still a critical community center, but those shops aren't.
And that's the other thing, is if you find a good mechanic, take care of that guy.
Betcha.
You got a guy that knows how to fix your bike and fixes it right the first time, listens to what you say. Give that guy a six-pack. Take care of him. Or food. Or
Tacos go a long way.
Pizza goes a long way. So not only, you know, support your local bike shop, take care of your
your
people
wrench.
that take care of you.
Makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference. You'd be surprised.
I guarantee you, none of those folks are getting rich.
Yeah.
But and it is, man. How tough does it have to be to keep up with all of these changing standards? And I was listening to...
Constantly deal with the bullshit that the cycling in, like internal cable routing.
I was listening to the Geek Warning podcast last week, and they're talking about one of the... I think it's Canyon. Mm-hmm. So one of their bikes, I'm not sure which bike it is, but it has some sort of internal headset cable routing.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it goes through the handlebars, through the stem, and then down through the headset.
Something like that.
A lot of high-end road bikes are doing that
So
now.
this is Canyon. Direct sales.
So they think that a home mechanic is going to be able to...
it comes routed.
Pre-assembled.
Yeah. But if there's any maintenance that's to be done on that thing, or I think there is a way to adjust the stem. For example, it's one of those it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine if you had to put a spacer in there. I didn't even think about that.
So
holy shit.
It's when you go to the documentation for how to maintain that, it's rated for like a 2.5 hour job.
to
for
assemble?
for a professional bike mechanic to disassemble, adjust, and reassemble.
No.
It's like a 2.5 hour spec job
To add a spacer?
just to work on that internal routing.
What are we doing?
Well, that's my point.
Is it a road bike?
I can't.
I'm on Canyon's site
I'm
right now.
I'm assuming it's a road bike of some sort, but I can't remember exactly what bike they were talking about because they start talking Canyon, and I'm not paying too close of attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these are the like, these are the international wrenches of bikes
Yeah.
that have been writing all the articles, in all the popular publications for decades. And they're talking about how shitty of a setup this is,
Well, I mean, why are we even running anything internal anymore? I mean, I get aerodynamics.
The
and
aero, man.
Sleekness.
It's the aero, man.
But if you get to
It's
that,
so much drag. It's 1.5 watts of drag to have that cable out there.
but if you get to that point, I mean, you should be running wireless shifting anyways, and then all you're worried about is brakes. Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's sleek. Have you seen, the guy Danger Home? Do you follow him at all on Instagram or?
That doesn't ring any bells for me.
Oh, he does all these. I'm gonna pull up Danger HOLM. So he builds these high-end Scott bikes,
Okay.
and he does these super sick videos. But this is all internally routed
no,
too.
that's not the one I was. Okay.
No, he's done quite a few of them, but they're really geared towards chi-chi parts, custom builds, super light, super sleek. But all this stuff is internally routed too, obviously aside from the front brake. But I think the new one he did, even the front brake is internal, goes through the head tube. But this all goes into the stem and then down through the frame. It's insane and super light on top of everything. Look at this. How sexy is that?
Very sexy.
Yeah.
Very sexy.
But he strips them down and does custom paint. And, I mean, the whole thing it's probably a $18,000 bike. It's crazy. But he does some insane stuff. But all that stuff is internal, too. Yeah, here's a bike he built back in 2020. And it's 18 pounds, full suspension,
You know who might have some insight into all this stuff we've been talking about?
Who dat?
I could be wrong, though. And speaking of retro grouches,
Mm-hmm.
would you be interested in having Guitar Ted join us for an episode?
Love to. Love to.
Well, that is officially teased. Guitar Ted will be a guest at some point.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Just got the email.
Oh.
Thank you, Mark. We'll hit you up. We'll do something here.
You better forward that email to me. I just want to read. I just want to read. I want to feel like I'm part of the correspondence. That'd be cool. Well, I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows where the cycling industry is headed. And fairly, if everything was to cease right now, there's a lot of bikes out there. I don't think anybody's going to go without a bike, but the availability of parts is what scares me more than anything.
I think we're generally back on track for that, but again, I'm gonna apply the same label to it. The concept is disposable bikes. The concept is planned obsolescence. The concept is that you get 2, 3, 4 years max out of a bike, and then you just get another brand new one, complete bike dropped off at your door. That's what it's evolving towards. That's what they're trying to build the model around. And with the idea being, oh, you're at the higher end of the spectrum, well, your dropped off bike will include a mobile service that comes to your door and adjust it, or it includes you visiting one of our partner shops.
It's a very utopian dream, Kevin.
I'm not saying it's a dream. I think that's the direction it's generally going.
I'm more inclined, and maybe it's an old school mentality, but I'm more inclined to spend my money on a frame and wheels that are going to last, and then continue to change out my parts as they evolve, and hope that the industry standard doesn't chase me away, you know?
But I mean, that's what they've been doing year over year over year for the past
Yeah.
10 plus years. Just
But there's got to be, you know, there's a backlog of parts. Like, I'm not going to be without a bottom bracket for another 20 years, you know. It's not like they're going to quit making the bottom bracket that goes in my bike, you know, and they're not going to just stop making the style of cranks that I use, you know, in the 12-speed drivetrain.
You're the outlier, though. You are not the common bicycle customer,
How so?
because most people, and make no mistake, the local bike shops themselves have made their living off this as well over the years. It's the N+1 is integral to the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sickness. I get it. I mean, I have it. you
The
know?
the whole industry is built on N+1 because it's a niche industry, and the customer base doesn't grow.
It ebbs and flows.
Virus years
Yeah.
are the exception. They're the outlier. And I think what the whole industry was hoping, like you were just saying, it's ebb and flow. The last flow was the Lance push. That really grew the cycling industry in the 2000s. And the whole industry has been waiting for the next Lance push since 2010. You know, since the recession, we've got another something that's like a Lance push coming. It didn't come, and then COVID comes in, sales explode, and the whole industry goes, "Oh, okay, we didn't know what the Lance push was going to be, so we didn't know what the COVID push was going to be. So this is the next push. This is the next 10 years of business for us," and it wasn't. That's what they're caught up in now. So now they're having to correct for over ordering, overproducing, over consolidating. Buying all the local bike shops and turning them into box stores, which are now just becoming warehouses. A lot of situations, it's a mess. It is a mess, and you have this whole other direct segment of the industry that's disrupting what was, and it's another. It just complicates it that much more.
Have you seen this? Did you see this video?
No, what is it?
So this is Jumbo-Visma, the winners of the Tour de France this year. This is a drone tour of their factory, warehouse, training facility. It's a 1-minute video. This is insanity. This is how much money there is in cycling if you're at this level.
That level.
Yeah, but just look at this. Just for a second, look at that. Every one of those bikes is 15K easy.
Easy. Probably closer to 20.
Yeah. But this is just the tip of the iceberg right here. Look, individual workstations, fitting station, going to here, recreation area. This is our brand. This is our kit. This is our previous kits. This is this is mind blowing to me. And this is, like I said, well, that's not even all of it. They go upstairs and show. I mean, it's insane.
But that's Premier League. That's Formula One. That's NFL.
Of course.
That's not cycling. That's advertising. That's marketing.
I get it. But I'm just trying. I was just thinking about the disparity between that and what we're experiencing at a local bike shop level. You know, we're still talking about cycling, but yes, that is.
That's marketing.
Yeah, I get it. Because Jumbo-Visma they're in it for exposure.
Right.
I get it, but I'm just saying, still, they're pumping millions of dollars into the cycling industry. I mean, they're marketing for their company, but they're also doing great things for cycling. Not only are they spending their own dollars on bikes and cycles and parts and kits and shoes and helmets and all that stuff, but they're bringing people to the cycling industry as well.
Barely. So that's the thing. The growth,
I don't know how you could argue against that.
because the customer base growth isn't there. The new cyclists, new people into cycling, if they're bringing people into cycling, you will see more people buying bikes. That's not happening. Fewer people are buying bikes.
Well, because the balloon from COVID has officially
No,
deflated.
you take out the COVID years. You go back to 2019. We're on a decline from 2019, let alone 2021, 2022.
But the cycling industry's always done that. It's a climb, it's a descent. It's a climb, it's a descent. Yeah. We're
Okay.
on the descent. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just a descent from the COVID. It's a descent from 2019, which was already a down year. That's what I'm getting at. So it's Jumbo Visma. What is it? Jumbo Visma?
Visma.
Visma.
I'm probably saying it wrong.
Tour de France, all of that. That's successful marketing because it is such a niche market that, yes, even though it's not growing, it is 10 million people, but just for a round number, 10 million people worldwide that are very passionate about this sport. And it's a very inexpensive way to spend X millions of dollars to indoctrinate those 10 million people, because
It's definitely cheaper than F1.
or whatever,
Yeah.
because you get a very specific target audience that you know. If you run the numbers on them, the demographics are going to be just a slight variance from this core. This is who you're preaching to, and if this matches up with what you, as a cell phone provider or an insurance company or a bank or whatever else, if that defines your ideal customer, you're able to get exposure on a cycling team much cheaper than you would on an F1 team or an NFL team or whatever else. So that, yes, it's millions of dollars, but it's a lot less marketing dollars to get to your target audience than other avenues.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've gone round and round on that plenty. See if I had anything on my notes that needed talking. I had viewer mail as my wrap up, and you opened us with that. So excellent job.
I didn't mean to go out of order.
No, that's not the way it went.
You know, you can spend $20,000 on a Canyon bike, and it comes to your house, and they expect you to put it together. $20K.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a track bike, but that's crazy.
But well, okay, but their version is 20,000. What's the specialized version? 25,000. So
Yeah.
you save $5,000, or whatever. You know what I mean. I'm oversimplifying, but that's the math on it. But the best part of it is it gets delivered to your house and it doesn't fit right. That's.
I mean, I'm not a track bike guy, but that is kind of sexy.
Oh, I'm sure the bike's sexy as hell.
I mean, for $20K, it better be. Look, if I ever spend $20,000 on a bike, just punch me.
And maybe that's the bike they were talking about, actually.
Yeah, you won't have to punch me. My wife will punch me. But I mean, even on the relatively lower spectrum, here's a $10,000 bike. You know, that comes with E-Tap and these super sexy Zip, their new profile wheels, and it's all internally routed. This is probably, their super sexy road bike, but it's $10K, and it shows up at your house, and you got to put it together. That's crazy to me. Although,
I think they do have concierge service. I think, but
I would imagine. But so I am not the typical, because this is probably my preferred method. Like, I would love for it to show up at my house and me be a part of putting it together. Like my last bike, I built my bike.
Sure.
You know, I procured
and
all of my parts and I assembled my bike by myself.
I'm not saying people can't do that.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not the norm in that realm. I mean, I grew up in shops and I love to wrench on my own bikes because I like to know what the problem is with my bike and I like to know how to fix it. You know, but most people I guess when you get to this level, you're probably, hopefully, handy with a bike, but not necessarily. Some people just want to ride; they don't want to wrench.
Go back.
You know?
Go back to your titanium spring people.
Oh yeah, yeah,
How many of them knew how to work on their bikes inside out?
yeah. No, none.
Okay.
None.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair point. Fair point. All right. I think I've talked about 97% bikes today. I think I'm about biked out.
Okay.
I want to go ride my bike again. Rode TNSS last night. It was nice. Struggle. I still don't have any fitness. I'm still trying to get back, but
Is it just from
Lack of riding.
the knee thing, or
No,
just the heat, or combination of everything, or
lack of riding. My mom was in town last week, and I didn't ride TNSS, and I did not ride on Sunday because I was catering. So I've had effectively almost 2 weeks off the bike, and it takes a toll.
you better get in shape. You got some pedaling at Big Bend to do.
I don't have to sprint. I can sit on a bike and pedal all
Okay.
day.
All right.
I'm talking about like on a single speed on
Yeah.
TNSS,
Yeah.
chasing a wheel.
Chasing folks or being
Yeah.
chased.
Yeah. I mean, it was all I could do to turn a 105 on the east side last night. So, not all I could do. I probably had a little bit more, but it was big.
You weren't feeling spunky.
Not at all. I had a good time though. I laughed a lot. There was a lot of living, laughing, and loving going on.
Well, that's
So-
all. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah.
Brad. Shall we?
Yeah. Y'all have a good one.